Alrighty, chapter 5, ready or not, here we go. We recently began the begats. Anybody who's even remotely familiar with the Bible knows there's this big chunk. I'm not exactly sure how big this chunk is going to be, but I'm assuming another 30, 40 pages of he begat him and whatnot. So this might be tedious, but stick with me because we have to find out how this all turns out. So this is the book of the generations of Adam. Okay, so there's going to be generations now that we're going to have to go through a bunch of names probably. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. So he made Adam to look just like him, which I think we covered already, right? Male and female created he them. Deja vu, right? We did this already? They're really driving this home. And blessed them and called their name Adam. Both of them were Adam? Doubt that. And called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, ripe old age, and begat a son in his own, I hope not when he was 130, and begat a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. So we did talk about this because I remember Seth. Wouldn't forget a name like that. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years. Oh, he did have Seth at 130, and then he lived another 800 years. So he probably lived to see him get married. And he begat sons and daughters. Yeah, Seth did. It'd be pretty, like, if you would die a virgin today, that's pretty sad. But back then, if you had like 900 years and you still couldn't get some, I'll bet you were a real laughingstock. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years. Okay, that math comes out right. Yeah. And he died. Okay, so fast forward 930 years, Adam dies. It doesn't say of what. Possibly old age. And Seth lived 105 years. Oh, he died young. And begat Enos. And Seth lived after he begat Enos. Oh, he didn't just live 105 years. He lived 105 years until he had his kid. And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years and begat sons and daughters. Okay, so he did not die a virgin. And all the days of Seth, they're just double checking the math here to make sure this, and we're 912 years. So pretty close. So it looks right now, let me do the 18, 9, 21. So it looks like the average age at this time was 921, because they seem to be dying off at about the same time. So we get a rough idea of, they must have eaten better, done a lot of calisthenics or something, really took care of themselves. And Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. So he had his kid really young, which probably upset his parents. And Enos lived, after he begat Canaan, 815 years and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Enos were 905. So he didn't make it too long, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years. It's getting less and less. So you can see, if we extend this out to modern day, you can see now how we have kids at 14 and die at 50. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and I think I missed something. Oh, Canaan lived 70 years, he begat Mahalalel. There's a lot of A's and L's for me to deal with there. And Canaan lived after he begat Mahalalel 840 years and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel, it's fun to say though. Try it right now. I'll give you a second. Mahalalel. It was good, right? Feels good? And Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. Subway Jared? That'd be cool. And Mahalalel lived after he begat Jared 830 years and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years. He didn't even make it to 900, and he died. And Jared lived, we're just going to go right through this because I don't want to waste your time. Okay. And Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years and begat sons and daughters. So he actually did live a long time. And all the days of Jared were 962 years. He's the oldest so far, I think. And he died. They all end the same anyway. And Enoch lived 65 years, and he begat Methuselah. I've heard of him, and I think, if I remember correctly, he lives a really long time. So let's see how long he lives. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah. Probably asked him for a favor. Hey, do you mind if my son, lives an extra long time? And he'll probably grant it to him. After he begat Methuselah 300 years. For 300 years he walked with God? What do you talk about after the first 200 years? Really run out of things to say. Well, God's a good conversationalist, I would imagine. And begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Oh, that's not long. Poor guy. He must have gotten shot. And Enoch walked with God, and we said that, and he was not, for God took him. He was not what? And he was not, for God took him. Killed him? Or took him somewhere? I don't know, maybe Enoch just talked his head off for 300 years, and God was like, enough of this. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. I remember that name. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years. Well, that's not that exceptional. And begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969. Well, it's up there. I'm not overly impressed. I have to admit, I was kind of hoping it was in the thousands for him. Because, if you say, I hope I live as long as Methuselah, 982, it's like, whatever, I could do that in my sleep. But, anyway. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son, and he called his name Noah, another main character in this book being introduced, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. Let's go back and revisit that. This same, okay, this is what he said. He called his son Noah, and then he said, this same, his son, I guess, because he's the same as me, shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands. So while we're working, he'll read us stories or something to comfort us because of the ground which the Lord cursed earth, I think, and so that makes it hard to toil in the fields. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And I feel like they could have put all this information, in the form of an Excel spreadsheet or something. I don't really know if we need all this prose. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, all sevens, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old. Oh, he was 500 years old before he had kids. So he must have had a much younger wife, like a Hugh Hefner situation in this circumstance. And Noah begat Shem, Ham. That's a food. Shem, Ham. I can't get over Ham still, and Japheth. So Noah's got 3 kids. They're probably going to be the ones that are telling, Dad, you're crazy. An ark? Talk to God? Really? Although they all talk to God at this point, so maybe they weren't that surprised. Anyway, we'll find out. That's the end of chapter 5. We'll get into chapter 6 and probably some of that ark stuff next week. So, Thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with all the begats. Hopefully there aren't too many more. Okay, good evening.